let's talk about your day job. Man, what a year. As I mentioned, Scotty's the pre and post guy for he hosts the show for the Chicago White Sox. And everybody that watches game, pays attention, keeps up with MLB, knows the the struggles that the White Sox have gone through. 3 or 4 years, and we talked about this 3 or 4 years ago, I'm looking at that team, and it's got Giolito and Dylan Cease and a Lance Lynn, Timmy Anderson and Abreu, who are both not in the game right now.
Carlos Rodon, Reynaldo
Carlos, yeah,
Giolito, Kopech had just come at that time.
Yeah. And I'm thinking,
Cease.
Yeah, I'm thinking 3 or 4 years ago, this is going to be a team in that division that's going to be kind of a juggernaut and going to go on a 4, 5, 6 year run. As an analyst, I look at it. It's probably the most disappointing franchise I've seen over the last 3 or 4 years, as far as expectations and not living up to them.
That's fair.
Let's go with this year, and because it's been such. I'm looking right here. This team's 29-93. They could lose 100 going into the September. I've been on some tough teams, Scotty.
Yeah.
I've been on some really great teams. I've been on some teams that, man, it was a struggle. And we were out of the pennant race at the All-Star break. And it's no fun. You got to find a way to get up in the morning and have a reason to play.
Yeah.
Whether it's beating somebody else, knocking somebody else out of the playoffs. But in all your years, your playing years, you covering this team the last 9 years, have you ever seen anything like it? And what has it been having to cover this team going through in the city of Chicago?
I haven't seen anything like this from a fan's perspective, or even some of the teams that I've been on, and I was on some bad teams throughout my career. You look back to 2021, Booney, the guys that we mentioned, they had a good young core, a lot of talent. They won 93 games that year with Tony La Russa at the helm. So you really thought, hey, once these guys start maturing, once these guys start growing a little bit, they're going to have themselves a pretty good base moving forward. And from that point on, it has just been a deep dive into this historically bad seasons. I don't know the next year they won maybe 70, 60, and then this year. But it's not, the question isn't what went wrong. The question is what didn't go wrong. I mean, when you look at this roster going into this season, I'm tired of talking about it. Fans are tired of hearing about it, but it is part of the story, and that's injuries. They've suffered injuries to some key guys the last 2 to 3 years. That's part of the game. All clubs have to deal with injuries, but that is part of the story. Just weeks into this season, you had Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, Luis Roberts down. Moncada's still out. He hasn't been back since. So I know all clubs have to deal with this type of stuff, but that has been part of the reason as to why they haven't reached their potential as a club. On the field, when you look at different parts of this ball club, offense, defense, base running, they don't do anything really well, Booney. Offensively, they're second to last in runs. I think they're second to last in on-base percentage, second to last in runs or in batting average. Their situational hitting is terrible. Productive outs, they're among the bottom 6. They're just offensively, they do nothing right. The pitching staff leads baseball by a lot in walks. And you can pitch around walks 1, 2, 3 times a week, but that's not a sustainable way. Over 162 games, you're going to find yourself in trouble. Defense, I think they're among the bottom 6 in fielding percentage, so they don't catch the baseball. Base running's terrible. Secondary leads are terrible. I mean, I can go on and on, Booney, and we can get into the analytics of the game, which is a hot topic now, and exit velocity and launch angle. But at the end of the day, regardless of what league you're playing in, and regardless of if you're in Little League baseball, travel league, high school baseball, the teams that play the most fundamentally sound baseball. I know it's not sexy. I know people don't want to talk about it, but the teams that play the most fundamentally sound baseball, they're teams that are going to win consistently. And the White Sox, fundamentally as a ball club, just are not anywhere close to where they need to be to win games night in and night out. And Pedro Cafal came in 2 years ago and talked about improving the fundamentals. We're going to get back to that. We're going to play the game the right way. And that just has not developed. Each and every night, you just watch this club, and they're just a bad baseball team. Last night, that loss to the Yankees was kind of a typical loss. Pitching staff walked 6. Offense had no walks. They scatter 9 hits. Nobody's on base. It's just kind of a typical loss for the White Sox. So they're at rock bottom. Chris Getz and company, they have a lot of work in front of them, but hopefully they can get to the drawing board. And look, we can talk about, what is this organizational philosophy? Is this just a matter of players not executing? The White Sox are going to have to take a long look in the mirror and not only find their identity on what they want to be, but break it further down than that. Say, hey, who do we want to be? What are our guiding principles? How are we going to go out and win ball games? Who are we going to bring in here? And how are we going to take the field and try to win games? They have a lot of work to do.
And, all that's true, and I'm watching from afar. You're seeing it on the daily. They've won 2 out of their last 28, 2 out of their last 28 games. And I kid around a lot, especially when it comes to batting average in the modern era. I tell my son, I said, do you realize that it's harder to hit 190 than it is 300?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I had some tough years, and I remember hitting 223 or 233 one year in Cincinnati. I'm telling you, after games, I had tears in my eyes under the bleachers at Riverfront Stadium. I'm hitting 230. I couldn't imagine being a worse offensive player. So I always say it's easier to hit 300 than it is 190. 2 wins and 20. I've been on some crazy loss, bad streaks team wise. To win 2 games in 28, to lose 20 straight.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. The teams you've been on, the 2005 World Series champion White Sox that you were a part of, you probably had a feeling you came to the yard and it was you're smiling at your teammates like, we're going to find a way today. That 2001 team you came up on, it seems like we won every day. And we would find a way. And if we didn't find a way, our opposition would give it to us because of whatever we had, that mojo we had rolling. Are you down on the field at all with these guys time to time and get to talk, get a temperature for what are these guys actually going through? Because as athletes, it's part of the gig. When you sign up for this, you're going to have some humble pie, and you're going to have some lean years, some lean weeks, some lean months, whatever it may be. But part of the deal is you got to be a pro and you got to roll with it. You got to be able to be criticized and take that, not be offended by it. Hey, you make a lot of money to play this game, and that they're going to praise you when you're great, and you're going to have to wear it a little bit when you're not so great. So once again, do you have any chance to interact with the players on the field to get a pulse for what it actually is they're feeling?
Yeah, I don't get down into the clubhouse much at all. We do probably 95% of our games in the studio. Occasionally we'll go to the ballpark and do a pregame there, but I stay out of those guys' way. If I'm part of the broadcast next year, I'm hoping, I think we'll be doing more games at the ballpark, and then I might have the opportunity to get down there and mix it up a little bit and kind of get a feel and a beat for what's going on. But back to what you were talking about, Booney, winning is an attitude and losing is an attitude. That 0-1 team you were talking about, you show up to the ballpark and you have this attitude and you have this feeling of we're going to win a ball game. And that goes the other way. When you're on a losing club, and I've been there, you show up to the ballpark and one thing goes wrong and this negativity kind of succumbs you. And baseball is a game of momentum and you can feel it. And I remember feeling something goes wrong, and it's almost tangible. You can almost feel it with this White Sox club. When something goes wrong, it's kind of like, oh gosh, here we go again. It takes mentally strong professionals to be able to battle through that and to kind of change the narrative, because you can fall into that trap each and every day. Oh gosh, we're the Sox, we're terrible this year, we're just kind of supposed to lose. So it's going to take a culture shift. It's going to take an attitude shift. There's going to be a lot of work that needs to go down on the South side. It can happen. You know, we've seen some quick turnarounds with some of these clubs. You know, from one year to the next. Look at the Royals. Look at some of these other clubs in the past that were terrible, and then, you know, got a couple of guys, the attitude changed, and you kind of start gaining momentum from there. I remember in 2005 when we showed up to the ballpark. You know, we knew we were going to be in a game, and each night's different, Booney. You know, we can talk about the analytics and the exit velocities all we want, but at the end of the day, there are intangibles that clubs have. It takes to win ball games night in and night out. It takes something different each and every night. One night you may have to catch it, play defense. The other night you are relying on that 3-2 run home run. Some nights you're going to have to pitch it. And clubs have to possess the versatile ability to kind of just battle and fight each and every night and find ways to win ball games. In 2005, I think we were 5th in home runs. So we hit the ball out of the ballpark, but we also had the versatility to manufacture a run here or there. We stole bases, we bunted, we sacrificed guys over. But our identity that year was pitching and defense. Our pitching staff, I don't know, I believe it was top 10 in the league. They were given 2, 3, 4, 5 runs a game. We knew as an offense, if we could show up and just put 3, 4 runs on the board, we had a pretty good shot of winning a ball game. And but most importantly, we were resilient. We lost a game, come back the next day, we were able to squash it. Today's a new day. We're going to go out, we're going to battle you, and we're going to do what we need to do this night to win a game. And I don't see this current White Sox club making adjustments. They seem to be just relying on one specific free swinging way to go out and score runs, and it just hasn't happened for them the last couple of years.
I look at you go over to the Cubs too. It's been a rough year for the Cubs. They're 6 games out of the wild card. I don't see them making the postseason either. So the city of Chicago as a whole, they're waiting for football season right now. I'll tell you, to do what you guys do on a daily, when you have a team that is it's easy to come to the ballpark when you're winning every night. You got nothing but glowing things to say. You can praise the team.
Yeah.
But in your position now, you don't want to bury them too much because you know what they're going through. But at the same time, you need to be critical when you need to be critical, or you'll lose the audience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think probably the one the one good thing White Sox fans have to look forward to is you guys, the post game show, and you get to work with a guy by the name of Ozzie Guillen, who was a teammate of mine. He was your skipper when you won the World Series. He's kind of like, he's almost like a Charles Barkley of the NBA.
100%.
Give me a little insight. You know, I played with him. You played for him. Now you work with him on set. 2-part question. How often do you guys reminisce about the 2005 season when you're going through something like this? And give me what it's like with Ozzie on a daily basis.
Yeah, Ozzie has definitely loosened the atmosphere up on the show. No question about it. Everybody who knows Ozzie, you know what you're going to get. He's going to speak his mind. He's going to tell you what he thinks. That's how he was as a manager. That's how he is now. You know where you stand, and you just don't know which direction he's going to go. You don't know what's going to come out of his mouth. But I'll tell you, Booney, he's good TV. People tune in to get his take. They respect his take, obviously, for what he accomplished in Chicago in 2005. But it's been fun to get to know Ozzie. When I was playing for him back years ago, you know him as a manager. You know, you don't spend a lot of time around. And so as I've gotten to know Ozzie, I've gained more of a respect for his baseball acumen. He has the ability to be telling some crazy story, and you've heard him. He can be going on, but he has this uncanny ability to not miss anything that happens on the baseball field. He's incredibly bright when it comes to the game. I love hearing his takes. I love bouncing things off, going back and forth. But he's been around the game for so long that he's forgot more than I've ever known about the game. So it's been a pleasure going to the studio, talking ball with him, obviously reminiscing about what we accomplished in 05, hearing his take about this current team, what he would change, what he would do differently if he was managing this ball club. So it's been a treat. I've enjoyed it. We do walk a fine line. Look, Booney, I was no Hall of Famer. I know how hard the game is. It would be disingenuous of me to get in and bash anybody. I know the game's difficult, but you're right. We have a responsibility to give the fans what we believe, what we think. And I think that we've done a decent job in being fair and calling this White Sox season, how we have. It's not easy when this club is losing this amount of games. But to be honest with you, they give us so much to talk about. They make mistakes that we discuss and talk about on the post game show. Sometimes those games are easier to do than a 3-1 loss to where they play a really clean ball game. But all in all, I'm grateful for the opportunity. I've had a lot of fun doing it. I enjoy showing up to the studio, getting into the city of Chicago. It keeps me around the game and still see fans talking about what we accomplished back in 05. So grateful for the opportunity.
You're right, and Ozzie he's very astute when it comes to the X's and O's of baseball.
Incredible.
He shoots. He doesn't hold anything back, which a lot of guys and a lot of players appreciate that. And it's not in a. I'm talking on the field professional. It's not in an arrogant or flippant manner. It's just this is Ozzie, and this is the way, and this is what he expects as a manager. I would imagine playing for him. At the same time, getting to do what you do with him, he's kind of. There's only a few people out there that kind of have that something about them. Like I mentioned, Barkley. When Charles says something outrageous, and he's gonna, the sentiment, the overwhelming sentiment amongst viewers is, that's just Charles.
Right.
Ozzie's kind of got that it factor where Ozzie says something, and you go, that's Ozzie being Ozzie. It's Manny being Manny as a player. But if Scotty Podsednik says it, it's wait a minute. What did you say?
No chance.
We can't get away with that. We got to shoot it a little more straight.
Yeah. And I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to speak for Ozzie. I'm not completely sure. I mean, I hear rumblings. He'll tell me here or there if he wants to manage again. But I think baseball is missing a good character, a great baseball man, and I would love for him to be in the manager's seat, heading some ball club. I'm interested to see how that old school way of thinking, how he could bridge the gap with this younger generation, and how the game has changed. Really see if he can maneuver and lead a team to some wins. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'll let him answer that one, but it would be really, really fun to watch him at the helm again.
Yeah, and I think it'd be great,
It would
because
it would be.
I think what great managers do is they have the ability to adjust, and that doesn't mean to manage like in your generation. Oh, this is the way we did it, and it's my way or the highway.
Right.
That's not how great managers do it. You have the ability to adjust. You have the ability to work with personalities, generations, because the kids today, they're different than we were coming up.
Booney, here's an example of that. 2004 was Ozzie's first year managing the White Sox. That team led baseball in home runs, led all of baseball in home runs. He said, you know what? We got a good offense. We mashed the baseball out of the park. We've got good players, but we don't have a good team. So he went in this offseason and said, hey, I want to change what we do. They led the team led baseball in home runs. And he said, I want to change our offense. I want something a little different. They went out and brought some new pieces in. They brought me over from Milwaukee. He wanted some speed at the top of the lineup. He wanted to kind of change things up. So went kind of completely blew up the team who led baseball in home runs that next year, with this idea, brought in AJ Przinsky, brought in Tadahito Iguchi at second base, brought in Jermaine Dye into right field, mixed and matched. And then we look up, when we're leading this Central by a lot. So he understands the game, and teams have to win in different ways. Again, like every team's different. They're all going to do it in different ways. But he had this vision, looking at what he already had. He had an idea of, we can bring in a couple of different pieces, maneuver a little bit, then I think we can be competitive. He was right.
You've lived two sides of the city of Chicago. Great sports town. That 2005 World Series against Houston Astros, you end up winning. And I was just watching your walk-off game 2. Podsednik, a little power for the little fella.
Booney, yeah, you're going to remind me. I hit no home runs that year, and then I hit 2 in the postseason.
2 in the postseason. No, it's awesome. I mean, that's what magical years. That's what happens. Yeah, I was watching your walk off. Actually, I put it on my Instagram leading up to this interview. Give me the tale of two cities this year in particular for the baseball season. White Sox are doing what they're doing. Cubs are really not a factor in the National League versus 2005. You winning a World Series. Just when you walk out into the city, give me the differences.
Still to this day, and look, winning one is incredible. Okay, that was my 3rd full season in the league. And I remember walking out the game 1 and they're spray painting World Series 05. And I said, oh my gosh, how did you find your way here? But to win one obviously is incredible, but to do it for an organization that has gone so long without winning, I believe it was 1917 was the last time they had won a World Series. So there had been generations over generations of diehard Southside White Sox fans that hadn't seen a winner. So to do it in that city, in that big of a sports market for that particular organization, just made it that much more special. But I remember the year after, and after we had accomplished that, Booney, just walking around the city, I would have people coming up to me and just thanking me, just shaking hands. Hey, still to this day, thank you for what you guys did. Those Midwest fans and those South Side fans in Chicago are incredibly passionate. I'll never forget the parade after we had won that thing. We get back to Chicago and we have this route down LaSalle and through downtown, and this neat little route we take. And to see all of the people that show up to take time out of their day, and the passion and the fist pumps, I mean, it gives me goosebumps anytime I start talking about it. So I understand how passionate Midwest fans are for their respected teams. So I really hope that they can bring some change down the South Side, because those fans deserve better than what they've got these last couple of years. But yeah, just when I fly into O'Hare, Booney, and I get in a car back down and I see that skyline of Chicago, I get good feelings. You know what I mean? It was a crazy year.
And it's awesome. And you can just tell by talking to you. I haven't met in all my day, I haven't met a teammate or somebody I played against that didn't appreciate winning a World Series. Such a tough thing. You know how hard it is. You were one of the fortunate ones that got to win a World Series. And I remember going to a World Series in '99 with the Braves, and we lost. We got whooped by the Yankees. And I thought to myself, this no big deal. Well, I'll get a chance to win another World Series. And then you look up and it's all said and done. And it's like, man, you never got to that one. So it's pretty awesome, pretty special thing. And hard to do, man. I look at the Yankees fans and I laugh, during the season. Oh, we win the World Series. Yeah. Do you realize how hard it is to win a World Series? Yeah. Everything, not only do you have to be a great team and have a great chemistry, but everything's got to go right as well.
So many things have to go right. And I remember we finished the parade. We finished all the craziness that goes along with winning one. I get back and I am so emotionally drained, tired. You know what it's like after a 162 game schedule, but then you throw that extra month of baseball and all the emotion that goes with winning a series. I'm like, what just happened? what just happened, and it slowly starts sinking in. But at the time, you just don't have the awareness to really soak it in and understand, because you're in game mode, you're in your routine, you're trying to figure it out. But as time has gone on, I've done nothing but gain a greater appreciation for what we did in 05. And I've realized, like you said, how hard it is to win one. So many things have to go right. You got to have the right mix of guys. I mean, we could sit here and talk about for days the things that have to happen, but it's special. And when you get a group of 25, 28 guys together that can accomplish something like that, you create an incredible bond. I mean, anytime I just see any of those guys, they can never take that away. But it was obviously by far the best year of my sporting career. And then, what happened in game 2, how that ended. So yeah, anytime I see that skyline of Chicago, it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, Booney.